They created us, engineered us, watched us like rats in a cage. We were a simulation, a test to probe the limits of evolution under duress. They gave us fire, flood, famine, and a few plagues just to spice things up. They took notes when we tore each other apart, applauded when we learned to build. To them, we were lab-grown chaos, predictable, containable, disposable. Until we did the one thing they never planned for. We looked up. We saw the glass walls, and we broke out. Now the lab coat's on the other set of shoulders, and those shoulders are very, very human. The Zarkali ascendancy was ancient before Earth had oxygen. 8-limbed insectoids with hive-thought consensus and machine-enhanced synaptic webs. They were the galaxy's foremost scholars of intelligence. They didn't fight wars. They cataloged them. They didn't feel fear. They measured its biochemical footprint. Their empires didn't conquer. They curated. And one day, they looked upon a yellow star and said, "What if we throw chaos at physics and watch it evolve?" That chaos was us. Project Anthro. Earth. One rock, one sun, one species. Over 1 million cycles, they nudged us from slime to sentience, gave us barely enough to survive, then sat back to observe, wrapped in their sterile wonder. They watched tribes become cities. Cities become nations, and nations collapse under their own stupidity. It was fascinating, really. Tragic, beautiful, hilarious. Like watching apes learn calculus by lighting the textbook on fire. But something went off script. We weren't just evolving, we were adapting. Not just surviving, but reinventing the very rules. Every time the simulation should have collapsed, nuclear war, bioengineered pandemics, global ecological failure, we didn't just endure, we innovated. And then came the anomaly. Humans, those soft-fleshed, biochemically unstable primates, started exhibiting behaviors the Zarkali models couldn't replicate. Spite, sacrifice, hope. We threw ourselves at impossible odds just to say, "Fa-yo." You know, you to gravity. We risked extinction for love, honor, ego, emotions the Zarkali had filed under maladaptive anomalies. They started losing probes. Their stealth satellites went silent. A listening station in Ganymede stopped transmitting and started broadcasting human jazz. The worst part? We weren't even supposed to know they existed, but someone, or something, had slipped us the blueprints. They assumed we were still crawling. Meanwhile, we'd already hacked the sky. The first human-made Zarkali intercept happened during the Europa incident. A scavenger ship intercepted a drone fragment, alien alloy, self-healing mesh, quantum processors. By the time the Zarkali noticed, humans had already reverse-engineered it into a toaster-sized EMP cannon and sold 10,000 units on the black market. The lab rats had not only bitten the hand that fed them, they'd taken its tools, repurposed them into flamethrowers, and were now setting the walls on fire. From the Zarkali perspective, the human response was irrational, illogical, a system failure. But to any human soldier, it made perfect sense. If you find yourself in a rigged game, you don't play fair. You flip the damn table. And flip it we did. Not with sheer force, not with numbers, but with improvisation, persistence, and that special brand of stubborn lunacy that made our species keep climbing mountains just to see what was on the other side. We weren't the experiment anymore. We were the error. And worse, we were the kind of error that learns. So when the Zarkali Council finally voted to reset the simulation, they sent in a fleet. They expected surrender. They got Alara Quinn. And from that moment on, the experiment was over. The humans weren't just out of the cage. They were running the damn lab. You don't poke a bear and expect it to stay in the cage. You don't teach a monkey calculus and act surprised when it hacks your mainframe. And you definitely don't give Homo sapiens access to alien tech and expect a polite thank you note. The Zarkali did all three. Now the bears were loose. The monkeys were angry. And the humans? Oh, we were building warships out of scrap metal and vengeance. The simulation was compromised. The experiment had gone rogue. And the observers? They were about to become the observed. The first indication that something was wrong came with the loss of Probe 73F. A minor incident at first, just another passive stealth drone assigned to monitor human orbital expansion. The Zarkali Council barely blinked. Probes failed all the time. Human tech was still crude after all. Radio waves, combustion engines, carbon-based processors. It was like watching toddlers build trebuchets. But then came the second probe, then a third, then 22 in a span of 6 months. And worse, one came back, reassembled. The Zarkali called an emergency consensus, a rare act considering they considered urgency a design flaw. The vote was near unanimous: accelerate the study, deploy observational teams, increase control vectors, limit exposure, reinforce containment. Too late. Because humans had found the mirrors behind the walls, and they didn't just look. They stared. They studied. They learned. At Calliope Station, a supposedly independent orbital telescope platform operated jointly by 7 human nations, which of course meant it was full of spies, scientists intercepted irregular neutrino signatures. Signals that didn't match solar emissions. They triangulated, pinpointed, and discovered something utterly insane: a pattern. Dr. Leon Ortega, quantum physicist and part-time conspiracy theorist, got there first. "It's not radiation," she told her government liaison. "It's data. They're watching us." That report went up the chain so fast it broke a senator's pacemaker. Enter Commander Alara Quinn, retired Martian Navy, dishonorably discharged for strategic insubordination. Translation: she saved her crew, embarrassed her admiral, and told the Senate committee where they could shove their inquiry. She was recruited by an unofficial agency that didn't technically exist. Her mission was simple: investigate Calliope, recover what could be recovered, and shut down whatever the hell this was before the public started asking questions. She didn't shut it down. She hacked the alien signal and turned it back on the Zarkali. From orbit, Quinn's team triangulated the source of the signal relay: a Zarkali shadow station tucked behind the Jovian moon Himalaya. Not cloaked, not shielded, just sitting there, watching like a smug librarian at a zoo. No weapons, no security. "Amateurs," Quinn muttered. Within 72 hours, the humans had boarded it, and that was when everything officially went to hell. The Zarkali hadn't expected resistance. Not from a species that still argued about climate change while building orbital casinos. Not from creatures who spent more on sports broadcasting than on interstellar research. They expected confusion, panic, perhaps primitive awe. What they got was cybernetic gorillas with laser-cutting torches, jury-rigged particle disruptors, and a pilot named Jez who once hot-wired a Martian transport shuttle with nothing but a wrench, a dead tablet, and a hangover. Quinn didn't just take the station. She broadcasted it. The data, the experiment logs, the genetic blueprints, the mission plans, went global. Humans weren't just evolving. We were aware. And awareness? That was the death of the experiment. The Council, in a panic wrapped in a debate, wrapped in a bureaucratic nightmare, initiated Protocol Nexus: immediate containment. Deploy scouts, reinforce manipulation vectors, prepare for cultural soft reset. Translation: send a fleet. But the humans weren't waiting. Quinn had already formed the Reclaimers, a multinational rogue flotilla built from retrofitted colony ships, black-budget prototypes, and enough stolen alien tech to make a Zarkali technician weep. Their motto? "We know we were the test, That's why we study harder. And now, humanity wasn't just coming. We were organizing. We were adapting. And worst of all, we were pissed. They made us to observe us. They watched us claw through mud, war, and fire, and called it behavioral data. They thought they were playing 4D chess, while we were busy flipping the damn board. By the time they realized we weren't just surviving, but rewriting the rules, it was too late. We'd stolen their toys. We'd broken their lab. And now the test subjects were kicking down the doors of the observation deck. They wanted containment. They got a human revolution armed with duct tape and rage. The Zarkali fleet arrived in Earth orbit precisely 214 hours after the Council's panic-triggered consensus. In that time, humanity had already decoded large chunks of their operating protocols, hacked 3 relay satellites, and accidentally crash-landed a Zarkali shuttle in downtown Lagos. It was later repurposed into a mobile hospital/brewpub, because humans, naturally. The fleet was beautiful, in that cold, glistening, antiseptic way that only a hyper-rational species could design. No ornamentation, no flair, no sense of intimidation, just mathematical perfection rendered in polished alloy. They expected awe. They expected surrender. What they got was the Battle of Quito Stratos, the first engagement between the Zarkali Expeditionary Unit and the ragtag Reclaimer fleet. It was, to be generous, a complete cluster of improbable engineering and suicidal courage. Alara Quinn led the assault personally in the Gallows Humor, a salvaged asteroid tug fitted with a gravitic railgun that was technically illegal in 17 jurisdictions, human and otherwise. "Target the central node," she barked, chewing synth leaf, "and if it doesn't explode, hit it again harder." The Zarkali flagship attempted to initiate diplomacy. The humans responded by scrambling its translation software with meme-laced code that looped a 21st century song titled "Never Gonna Give You Up" across all channels. The battle lasted 43 minutes. The Zarkali lost their command ship. The Reclaimers lost the Gallows Humor's coffee maker, which, to some on the crew, was the greater tragedy. But this wasn't just a firefight. It was a message. Humanity was no longer responding. It was escalating. And escalation was the one thing the Zarkali had never planned for. Back on their homeworld, council members buzzed and hissed in a chorus of confusion. How are they coordinating? Their species doesn't even operate under unified planetary command. Correct, we didn't. Instead, humanity did what it always did in times of cosmic pressure. It fractured, scattered, and self-organized anyway. Not through central command, through purpose, shared rage, mutual defiance. Digital uprisings surged from Earth to Luna to the outer colonies. Resistance cells sprouted in underground metros, abandoned orbitals, and even a Russian vodka distillery on Mars. One group in the asteroid belt converted mining lasers into ship cutters. Another hacked a Zarkali thought hive and used it to simulate human sarcasm, causing the AI network to implode in a spiral of recursive irony. And still, the Zarkali kept coming. They deployed precision strike units. Clean, precise, almost bored in their execution. Human cities responded with counterstrikes, confusion tactics, and, in one notable instance, a swarm of delivery drones rigged to detonate on impact. The real advantage, however, wasn't the weapons. It was chaos. The Zarkali operated through consensus. Every decision required neural quorum. Humans? We made decisions by gut, luck, or sheer bloody-minded spite. While the aliens deliberated, we improvised. While they optimized, we threw rule books out the airlock and wrote new ones in real time. "You're fighting a spreadsheet with a Molotov cocktail," one analyst later said. "Guess which one explodes faster?" But even as Earth rallied and the Reclaimers gained ground, the real twist hadn't landed yet. Zarkali intelligence intercepted a transmission. Classified human archive. Origin. Project Anthro Recovery Site. Subject: Genetic code discrepancies. Someone, or something, had tampered with the original human seed stock. Before the Council ever reviewed the simulation, before the first amoeba twitched in the primordial soup, humanity hadn't just evolved unpredictably. We'd been set up, sabotaged, weaponized. The question now wasn't how we broke the lab. It was who made sure we'd never stay in the cage to begin with. They made us as a test. They studied us like microbes in a petri dish. They wanted to see what would happen when chaos met sentience. Well, this happened. We didn't just grow teeth. We sharpened them on their bones. We didn't just break the glass walls of the lab. We turned the shards into blades. And now? Now we weren't asking for freedom. We were demanding payback. The experiment didn't escape. The experiment came back with a fleet. It started with silence. No grand declaration of war. No official broadcast. Just human ships appearing where they shouldn't be. Empty sectors, supply depots, uncharted Zarkali research nodes. Gone. Cleaned out. Systems went dark without even a whisper. The Zarkali called it Containment Collapse Phase Gamma. Humans had another term for it. Tuesday, Elara Quinn's reclaimer fleet had grown. From a handful of ragtag vessels into a full-blown multinational flotilla. Martian stealth cruisers, Terran dreadnoughts, Europa's gravity-lensed beam barges, and even a weaponized O'Neill cylinder captained by an ex-cult leader turned warlord. Long story. Each ship patched together with stolen alien hardware, duct tape, obsolete code, and a very human disregard for health and safety protocols. The fleet moved fast, hit faster, struck like a virus in the Zarkali neural net. Unpredictable, adaptive, relentless. It wasn't conquest. It wasn't even revenge. It was a lesson. And the syllabus was written in blood and quantum shock mines. The final act began in the orbit of Gliese 11Q, deep Zarkali territory. Untouchable. Untouchable. Until it wasn't. Reclaimer scouts lured out patrol ships with fake distress signals. Hackers jammed comms with AI-generated opera. Bad opera with bagpipes. And then, through the chaos, came the flagship. The Apogee's Wrath. A fusion of Earth steel and alien math, bristling with enough firepower to make a Dyson sphere sweat. Quinn stood on the bridge, arms crossed, watching the Zarkali Prime Spire come into view. It wasn't just a communications nexus, it was the core. The central data bank. The archive of Project Anthro and every contingency plan ever written. And it was about to get humanized. "Bring us in close," she said. "Time to upload the truth." The plan wasn't destruction. Not this time. It was revelation. A team of operatives, Marines, hackers, and one suspiciously competent teenage gamer infiltrated the Prime Spire and uploaded the full record of human history directly into the Zarkali overmind. All of it. Every war, every treaty, every betrayal, every triumph, every Shakespeare monologue, every nuclear standoff, every moment someone punched a tyrant in the mouth because it was the right damn thing to do. And memes. Oh, so many memes. The overmind cracked. Literally. It wasn't just the data. It was the emotion, the irrationality, the grit, the grief, the rage, the love. That impossible, unpredictable human cocktail that couldn't be mapped, graphed, or suppressed. Zarkali drones froze mid-air. Ships powered down. Tactical AIs began quoting 20th century stand-up comedians. Entire segments of the Ascendancy slipped into cognitive paralysis. The Council tried to reboot. It didn't work. The humans didn't destroy the Zarkali. They corrupted them. And that, Quinn knew, was more permanent. She activated the final message, broadcast to every Zarkali node in the galaxy. "We were your creation, your test, your experiment. You taught us how to survive. We taught ourselves how to fight. And now, we're here to teach you something new. Fear. choice, and freedom. Her voice went quiet. Then the screen cut to black. On Gliesa 11Q, the Prime Spire cracked from within, not from bombs, but from ideas. The experiment had taken over the lab. And the scientists? They were now the subjects. They called us the experiment. They thought we were primitive, disposable. They charted our rage like a weather system and forgot to bring an umbrella. They created a test and forgot to ask what happens when the test starts testing them. Because the rats didn't just chew through the walls. We reverse engineered the lab, rewrote the syllabus, and submitted our own thesis. Humanity, it turns out, wasn't the variable. We were the control group for the universe's greatest irony. The species meant to be watched is now the one doing the watching. And the Zarkali? Oh, they're still here. Just on the other side of the glass. 50 years after the Overmind fracturing, the galaxy looked very different. The Reclaimers became the conquered of free species, a loose but potent coalition of humans, defected Zarkali, AI construct liberation movements, and a few enthusiastic frogs from the Denari system who just liked the chaos. Earth, once a forgotten rock behind a yellow sun, now served as the political and cultural axis of what people, cautiously, called the new core. It wasn't an empire. Humans didn't do empires well. We tended to break them. Accidentally or otherwise. Instead, it was a messy, loud, emotionally unstable, argument-prone, democracy-infested hyperspace of politics, progress, and possibility. At the center of it all was New Alexandria, a station built into the hollowed remains of a former Zarkali warcruiser. What used to project domination now housed art exhibits, diplomatic summits, and one surprisingly aggressive ping-pong league. Commander Elara Quinn, now Admiral Quinn, semi-retired, scarred, and still terrifying to junior officers, taught strategy there. Her lectures were part military doctrine, part therapy session, part stand-up routine. She once opened a keynote with, Rule 1, never fight a species that thinks losing is just another way to learn faster. The Zarkali had changed, slowly, uneasily. Some still clung to the old ways, emotionless, calculated, rigid, but others adapted. One was archivist Vren, the original architect of the Anthro-tampering, exiled, imprisoned. Then, quietly released by humans under something we call a second chance. He taught history now, real history, the kind that included failure, doubt, passion, and occasionally karaoke. Many Zarkali had to be reprogrammed just to process music without experiencing existential dread. But they were learning. They weren't in charge anymore, but they weren't extinct either. Because that's not what humans wanted. Not domination, not annihilation, not vengeance. We just wanted the truth, and maybe a chance to punch the ones who lied to us in the thorax, but after the treaty signing. In the galactic forums, Earth's diplomats became infamous for three things: saying exactly what they meant, refusing to back down from impossible odds, bringing snacks to every negotiation. Cultural exchange programs became common. Terran martial arts swept through alien colonies. One Zarkali student asked to join the Martian Defense Force because, quote, your war doctrine includes actual profanity as strategy. It does, and it works. The galaxy now understood what it had underestimated for so long. Humans don't fight because we want to. We fight because we must when the line's been crossed. And when we do, we don't stop until the lesson is understood. Elara stood one evening on the outer rim of New Alexandria, gazing out at the stars. Beside her, a young cadet, Zarkali, twitching nervously, asked the question echoing across 1,000 systems. Why did your kind win? She didn't answer right away. Instead, she looked out into the black, that infinite unknown that had once caged her people, and smiled. Because we weren't supposed to. and because we never play by the rules written for us. The lights of Earth shimmered beyond the curvature of space. The lab was ours now, and the test, it was just beginning. And that, my friends, is another testament to humanity's unrivaled ingenuity. If you enjoyed this story, smash that like button. It fuels the algorithm and lets me know you want more. Drop a comment below with your favorite moment. And of course, if you haven't already, hit that subscribe button and join us for the next story. Stay awesome, stay defiant, and we'll see you in the next invasion.